continuing on the theme of migration, record numbers of migrants are now claiming universal credit, with new data out today showing an astonishing 472 new claimants every single day last month. Now, the total number of foreign nationals receiving the benefits has now surged to almost 1.3 million, and that's up 6.7% in just 1 year. Indeed, an estimated £10.3 billion a year is now spent on universal credits for immigrants in the UK. But is it time to revoke this altogether?
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
Well, I'm joined now by Callum McGoldrick, who's the Investigations Campaign Manager at the TaxPayers Alliance. Callum, welcome to the show. The figures are simply astonishing. £10 billion a year and rising, but the fact that 500 are signing on every single day. Is it time to simply get rid of universal credit for those born overseas?
Well, good evening, Martin, and thank you very much for having me on. I think the simple answer is yes, it is. We look at our welfare bill that we know Labour tried to make changes to it earlier in the year. We're spending 300 billion on welfare alone. 88 billion of that is universal credit, of which, as you said, 10.3 billion is universal credit for foreign nationals. And you think, yeah, that's a pretty big saving that can be made by scrapping that.
Do you think that such notions that Shabana Mahmood mentioned today make it slightly harder? She said potentially she flew the kite that only Brits should get universal credit, but she wasn't resolutely clear on that. Do you think if she were to clamp down on anybody, or even some people from overseas being able to get universal credit, she'd run into huge issues with her own backbenchers, with the Labour Party itself, and of course with our friends at the European Court of Human Rights?
I think, obviously, yes, Labour don't want to leave the ECHR, as we're aware, and we know the previous government ran into problems with those. I think in terms of their own backbenchers, yes, they present a huge challenge as well, because like I said, last year, if you remember, they came up with the welfare reforms and they couldn't get it past their own backbenchers, let alone then surviving contact with sort of the House of Lords or courts.
Callum, of course, we have that budget. Everyone's looking through their fingers at it. We used to hide behind the sofa from Doctor Who. Now we hide behind the sofa from Rachel Reeves. On a serious point, do you think there's any appetite whatsoever to tackle the ballooning benefits bill in Britain?
I think possibly the Treasury know that they have to, but politically it's very difficult for them. And the obvious solution, especially when Labour's left flank is being eaten out by the Greens, is to go after more and more tax rises, which I think, as we both know, is not the correct answer.
Do you think there's any real appetite to cut benefits for people coming to the United Kingdom from those overseas, from the Labour Party, or is this just political necessity? It's a fight for survival. If they don't join the reform open window, they're simply toast.
I think it's very possible that a few on the Labour benches have a genuine wish to do so. I think whether the Home Secretary does is maybe a different question, given statements she's made in the past. But yes, I think they're absolutely very, very aware of the threat that reform poses to them, and they're trying to head that off.
And Callum, just in terms of the brutal economics of Britain's benefits bill, not just of those overseas, but of those on our own shores who simply don't go to work, how long can we keep this going before the country's simply bankrupt?
Well, they said we currently spend about 24% of the total government expenditure on welfare. It's simply unsustainable to keep it at that high. It's punishing working people who have to foot the bill for this every single year, and to a greater extent.
Every time you're online, your money and your identity are at risk. Scams now make up nearly 40% of all crime in the UK. That's thousands of attacks every single day. In Britain, someone has their identity stolen every 2 minutes, leaving victims with wrecked finances and years of stress. The threat is real, and you could be next. ExpressVPN is your shield against criminals. It locks down your devices, hiding your personal information and financial details from hackers, scammers, and anyone else looking to exploit you. So whether you're checking your bank, shopping, or just browsing, ExpressVPN makes you invisible to prying eyes trying to steal your money and your identity. ExpressVPN shields your data with military-grade AES 256 encryption. That's the same standard trusted by the US government to guard classified information. This is the highest level of online security you can get. So don't wait for disaster. Secure up to 14 devices at once and get powerful password protection. Real support is available 24/7 because cybercrime never sleeps. Save up to 73% on annual plans today. Every moment you hesitate is another moment you're exposed. Protect your money and protect your identity. Get ExpressVPN right now.
Now, sticking with migration, the Home Secretary is considering a big increase. And I suppose let's get the reaction from my panel to that story. If I could, Tom Pursglove, Matthew Sadler. Matthew, I'll come to you first. Benefits are completely out of control. Perhaps a good place to start the cutback is with foreign applicants.
I just want to address the elephant in the room, and that is that it's all very well wanting tough action. It's all very well living under the impression that one is being ripped off. And I'm looking ahead at this budget, wondering how much more I'm going to be paying in tax, and it might be a considerable amount. If we scrap universal credit for immigrants, what is the actual real-world effect going to be, other than potentially misery for a lot of people in those positions? We could end up with people more on the streets. We could end up with the situation that you get in northern France, where you have informal camps, which I don't want in our country.
We've already got that on Tottenham Court Road.
Come on, Martin. We've got one or two tents around the place. I don't want to see tents, but I want those people to be looked after. I don't want to see destitution. My reaction is, you guys, that's a bad situation you're in. No one wants to live like that. My point is, yes, where there is abuse of the system, where the welfare system is out of control, and there seems to be a degree of consensus between the Tories and Labour on that, it needs to be addressed. But it has to be addressed in a way that you don't get unintended consequences and you don't hammer some of the most vulnerable. Final point, Nigel Farage, his position is to scrap the two-child benefit cap. So even Nigel Farage, who's seen as... Hang on, it is. He made, I was watching it live when he made that announcement earlier this summer. For working people, but there are a lot of working people who might say, why should I pay for other people to have children that I don't feel I can pay? Now, I reject that argument, because if you scrap the cap and you reduce child poverty, that is a good thing for children. It's not their fault they were born, and for the country. My point is, even Nigel Farage wants to extend the welfare state in that area.
It's only for British working families.
You say only. A lot of people will not be happy with that.
Farage's position.
A lot of people won't be happy with that.
That is Nigel Farage's position. I want to get onto this broader point of the golden goodbye payments. Another kite that Shabana Mahmood flew earlier on today. At present, we can pay £3,000 as a golden goodbye to foreign criminals to get them out of the country. Good riddance of bad rubbish, you might say. But she's thinking of extending that to £20,000 in line with the Danish model, €24,000. Tom Pursglove, a case today, I want to bring to your attention a Romanian rapist who raped 10 British girls and women was offered £1,500 by the Home Office to go back to his country. Surely we should never be rewarding rapists.
No, and I think the idea that we should pay anybody £20,000 where they've got no right to be in this country, I think people will just find offensive. Good, hard-working taxpayers across the country will just find that offensive. And actually, all that seeks to do is introduce new pull factors, because what that would mean in practice is that if you could get to the United Kingdom in a small boat, you're in a rather good position, aren't you? Because if you get to stay here, fantastic. And if you get removed either to your country of origin or to another country, a third country, for example, then you're going to be pretty chuffed with that outcome as well. And that would pay for that journey many times over. And in many of these countries where people are coming from, that sum of money is astronomical.
Shabana Mahmood says that's cost-effective, though, doesn't she? She says it is better value for the British taxpayer by giving someone an incentive to go home rather than to go through the various rigmaroles. You were in the Home Office, as you say, for quite some time. Explain to us why we might be in a position where it's necessary or felt to be necessary to pay that money in order to save money in the longer term.
I think that this would actually see additional cost burdens fall on the taxpayer. I think this would encourage more people to make that journey because they would be in a win-win situation. The best way of tackling this issue, the most cost-effective and the fairest way of tackling this issue is to detain and relocate every last individual. That was the thrust of the Iran policy. That's what this government needs to do.
It's not just about money. This is about rewarding rape. It's not just a financial decision.
Clearly, the whole idea of that is
pay £1,500 to a rapist who rapes 10 girls.
Martin, there won't be a person. Martin, hang on. There won't be a person watching GB News this evening who doesn't feel that that's profoundly offensive and feels sick in their stomach as a consequence of it. The question has to be, why is that seen to be necessary? Why is this person, I haven't looked at the details of the case, why is this person not simply removed? I can't answer that. I haven't looked at the details.
Because we're cowards. We haven't got the guts to do it.
Well, that's an easy thing to say. What do you mean the guts? Why does it require guts for law enforcement in this country to remove a multiple racist back to Romania? It shouldn't require guts.
Well, it does, because you could say, for example, to Romania, take this scumbag back or you get no more visas. You could say the same to Pakistan. The biggest overstayers in this country are Pakistanis. Take back your rapists or no more visas. Get tough. Give them the stick, not the carrot.
It's also extraordinary that they've resorted to that approach in relation to Romania, because there is no barrier to removing a foreign national offender to Romania. That should be an enforced return, no question about it, get on and do it.